Hi everyone, really nice to see you all today, and thanks for all coming along and being interested in what we do in Newdale with all of our food waste and garden waste. So I'm just going to share my screen, and we've got a little video, and what I'll do is I'll talk over it and then I'll pause it just to use my mouse just to point to different areas of the site and just to go to explain it a little bit further. Okay, so this is an aerial view of our site in Newdale. If you look here, this is the entrance to the site, and the site is split into two parts. So we've got all of this part here. It's an 11-acre site. This part here is all of the garden waste, and this part here is where we deal with all of the food waste and the garden waste together.
So is it just garden waste and food waste you take, Claire, yeah?
It's food waste, garden waste. It comes in various forms. We have somewhere, if you have like a caddy at your house, so that is just food waste. There's some places where you have a civic community site, and that's where you go to take your garden waste if you don't have a brown wheelie bin. We have food waste that we collect in our own vehicles, and that's from restaurants and schools, hospitals, various places like that. And we've got big factories that will bring us in food. We take a lot of fish waste, being close to the coast. So this is, you can see this is our vehicles here that we collect our own food waste in. And again, so here's the entrance to the site. This is our office here, and this is just garden waste. So this comes from the councils bringing this in their trucks, and this is collected from the civic community sites. So just where maybe you see your mum and dad taking your garden cuttings or your grass cuttings from your garden, and they bulk it up, and it goes into a big skip, and then the council bulk that up, and then they bring it out to us in a big lorry. And here you can see this is a big shredder here. So this is a pile of garden waste here. So the council bring it in, and then they tip it off here, and then this gets loaded into a big shredder, and then we make these big piles here, and these are called windrows. So it's just like a big long line of garden waste which is shred up. And what we do is we have big machines. We'll see if we can find one a little bit further along. So we have big machines where we turn it. So we lift it up, and we just literally just turn it with big machines. And this gets oxygen into it, and it helps it break down, and it gets all the microbial activity starting to work and starting to break down the garden waste into the compost. So it starts at this bottom part of the site, and eventually it'll end up at the top part. And that whole process takes eight weeks. So this is here. This is the reception building for the food waste. And we take in here what's called commingled and just plain food waste as well. So commingled is where maybe you have, in the city, you have a brown wheelie bin, and you have garden waste, and you have food waste. That goes in together, so that's commingled. And then we have just plain food waste that we collect in our trucks, or factories bring it in. So everything that has food in it needs to be dealt with in this shed. We can't have it open air. So it gets shred up in here, and then it gets blended. So we blend the commingled with the food waste, and this then gets taken up into these IPCs, so it's in-vessel composting units, which you can see here. So it's shred and blended here, and then it goes into what's called a hopper, and these are big conveyor belts here. So it all gets taken up to the top, and there's hatch doors along the top of each of these, so it drops into these big towers. This is just a different view of the site. This here is our big tanker. I'll tell you about that later. Here's the machines that we use to move that garden waste that was shown you earlier. So these are really big machines. This here is piles of wood waste. So we shred this up, and we make it into this fine wood chip. And this is just another way of recycling wood, and we make this into cattle bedding. So if we look here, so this is the food waste part of the site. So we shred it, we've mixed it, we put it into the in-vessel composting units. They have to go into here they have to reach 70 degrees for 1 hour. So this could take up to 10 hours to do that, because it goes into the top and there's temperature probes go all the way down it. So it has to, it'll build up the temperature. So that could take a while to get it up to that temperature, and then it's got to hold that 70 degrees for 1 hour. So, it could be in there for a day. Once it's been at 70 degrees for an hour, we then harvest it out of the bottom, and we have fans as well. So we need oxygen in this process. So the fans are in the top and they suck air right through to keep the microbes working. And then it gets taken into this building here. We harvest it off, and this is the Maturation Building. And again, we turn it, and it's in this building for about a month.
What happens if it gets hotter than 70 degrees? Does anything go wrong, or you turn it out okay?
Yeah, it can. It can get so hot that it's dangerously hot, and it can combust. So you just have to turn it before that point. We're on a hill here, so this is our overflow water tanks. So the other thing that we do is, so this is our fleet of vehicles. These are 16-ton food waste trucks, and they're called MacPacks, and because they've got a packer in them. So this vehicle here holds the same as this vehicle here, but it's because there's a packer which presses all the food. This is quite good so it means we don't need to run on so much fuel because the vehicle's not so big. So this is our older vehicles, but we're gradually transitioning to a kind of smaller vehicle. So in these, we can collect compostable packaging, and that can go into our in-vessel composting system, or we can collect just food waste, and we can have shops, so co-ops, bars, places like that, and that goes through a depackager, and we make that into a liquid soup, and that's what our tanker is for. And we take that off to an AD plant, so for anaerobic digestion, and that makes gas and electricity. This is our big shredder within the building for the commingled.
So what is that? The garden waste goes into that, or is that the food waste that goes into that?
So it's the commingled, so it's garden waste with some food in it. So
Okay.
that'll get shredded up. Then there will be some food waste sitting separately, and we blend that, so the shred garden and commingled, with just the plain food waste, and that will go into these mixers. This is the hoppers, and that is just before it goes into the big towers. It's blended up.
Okay. And does it almost like the food waste needs like a bit of extra roughage, and that's why you put like plant waste in with it to make it break down easier?
Yeah, there needs to be a bit of air into the system, and it just needs to be a good blender. It won't compost properly. So we also add in hydrated lime, because the food can be a little bit acidic, and we need to make it more alkaline to help with the heating up. And it just helps the composting process to accelerate it. So here you can see it's quite good. You have a big conveyor belt here, goes along the top, and there's these hatch doors into each one of these, and then conveyors out here into the Maturation Building. And this is inside the Maturation Building. So again, we're just turning it and moving it from bay to bay over the period of a month, and it's just gradually breaking down. And what we have is there's microbes. So we have mesophils. So these work between 0 and 45 degrees that are just breaking down and breaking down. So from the moment it comes in, you can see the heat building up, and from 45 degrees, 45 degrees onwards, we have thermophils, and they continue to break it down, and they work up to about 65 degrees. That part there was just us screening the compost once it comes out the maturation building.
Somebody's asked a question, how do you make sure it's only food waste that's in there?
Well, it's tricky. We have a lot of contamination. We do have a lot of contamination, and we have 3 full-time litter pickers on site. And yeah, it's difficult, and we try to make sure that the contamination is dealt with at the very start of the process before it goes through any of the machines, because when that happens and it gets shred up and it goes into millions of tiny particles, and then that affects the end product. And we have, this is our finished product, this is our Pass 100 compost, and the Pass 100 means that it's got to go through certain tests to make sure that it's safe, that there's no E. coli, there's no weed seeds. We grow tomatoes in it just to make sure that it's stable and it's a good growing medium. And they also test for contaminants. So if we have too much plastic, we'll fail our test.
So is that like taking a sample into a laboratory and looking at it under a microscope and picking out microplastics from that?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And this is a big screener at the top. This works like a big rotating sieve. And then this is the end product. We sell it to local farmers who spread it on their own land, and it reduces the need for chemical fertiliser and improves soil health. This chemical fertiliser is just a powder that is added into the soil, but the benefits of compost is that you're actually you're adding organic matter.
So what happens to the stuff that doesn't pass the test of being uncontaminated, if you like, if it's proper stuff?
We would have to just go take it back through the process again.
Okay.
We've got hoovers across, and it's just a real headache, and it's a big operational cost for us. We don't really tend to fail because our process is really quite strict. If we receive a load that's contaminated, we can just reject it, and we do reject loads. But then it's a cost to the council. It's usually a council load that would be rejected, and it's where somebody just put a black bin, maybe a black bin liner full of garden waste.
Yeah, okay. So it's maybe not actually the waste that's contaminated, it's what it's in that's contaminated, but it's like the wrong plastic or whatever. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you can pull it out at source, so it saves you a little bit of time and effort then. Yeah,
and ideally you want it to just be from the start, from the householder or from the business. If they can just give you clean material to process, then that's just good all round for everyone.
That's the dream, I suppose, isn't it?
That's wishful thinking.
Yeah. Do you get other contaminants as well then, apart from like rogue plastic bags or yeah?
Yeah, we get toys, we'll get metal, prams, beds, drawers. It's quite amazing what you do get. I would say up here we're not too bad though. We've been to other facilities in other places in Scotland and they're very badly contaminated. So we're doing a pretty good job up in Aberdeen.
Oh, that's good to hear then.
Yeah.
Top of the class.
Yeah.
I guess things like metals, if you've got just a big magnet or something, it'd be easy enough to take the metals out.
Yeah, so we have magnets on top of all of the machines. So when the conveyor belt goes up, there's a magnet that's chucking any contaminants, metal contaminants off. But you can never be 100% certain. So that's why it's best not going in.
So the wood waste and things like, do you get laminate in the wood waste as well, or is it just all wood?
Yeah. we do get some laminates in the wood waste, but there's a very small tolerance for it. We can't accept heavily contaminated wood.
So things like pallets is okay, but kitchen units probably aren't.
Yeah. Pallets are great. Pallets are great. We can shred them up and we can remove the nails easily. That's a really good clean product for us.
So have any of the machines ever gotten broken due to having the wrong waste on them?
Our depackager costs £300,000, and we can't take, so where we have a compostable run and we have a packaged run, but if somebody accidentally, say a butcher accidentally puts in a big bone, then and what should be a packaged run, then that breaks the flails, because the way that it works is paddles working at high speed, and it's to break the plastic packaging, and so the food is washed out and the packaging is taken away. So that needs to be just a packaged run, and the bones go on a compostable run. So a run being what a truck is on that day. But if a bone goes through the depackager, we could be 1 or 2 days down operationally, and thousands of pounds to fix it.
Yeah, it's not like you can just call a garage, come fix it. I suppose you'd have to have somebody specialist from elsewhere in the world, maybe, to come and get it for you. Yeah. People have to travel up from England, and it's just a real knock-on operational cost. And I don't think, until people see a processing facility, they don't really understand, that side of things. And that's where, glass is not ideal, but glass wouldn't break our machine, but it's not good for going into the compost. You wouldn't want to be spreading glass on a field that's a farmer's maybe growing, whatever wheat on it this year, but maybe in a few years' time he'll turn that into grass again. He could have cows on that, and then there's glass in it. So, it's that knock-on effect. It's really important that people are responsible and just put in the bins what's supposed to go in the bin. Yeah, and I think the thing is, we've probably all done it as well. Just thought, it won't matter. It's only a little bit of something not right, and but if you forget that if everybody thinks like that, then the whole knock-on effect is a bit worrying. And then when it gets as far as you, then that can be the machine's out of order. Clooney School are asking, how do you plan the whole recycling site layout? Because I know it was kind of like you thought about it and then you did a little bit and a little bit more. So did you have a big plan from the start, or did you just get lucky? No, we started off, when you look at the aerial view, so the very top part, the very 1 acre at the top is where we started. And it used to just be my husband that started off shredding it. Well, we both used to screen the compost. We just both worked in the JCBs, the two of us. And no, we didn't know. So the first part of the site, when we extended it, was all of that garden waste part. And the entrance came later, the building in the middle came later, and it's not ideal. If you were to plan it from a blank canvas, you wouldn't plan it like that, but things evolve, and you just have to go with the flow and do the best you can. I mean, that site is built on a hill, and we had to excavate 7 meters into the ground, and we're still on a hill. So. Yeah, it's quite a steep hill, isn't it? Yeah. How much compost is made each day at the plant? Well, we make, I don't know how much it is daily, but over a year, so the green waste the garden waste is 20,000 tonnes a year, and the mixed garden and food waste is about 40,000 tonnes a year. That's a lot. I'm trying to compute that. It's quite a lot then, isn't it? Yeah. It's seasonal, that's the thing. So we go quieter in the winter. Of course, yes. Okay, I've got another couple of questions for you. Do you have lots of different safety equipment, because it all looks quite dangerous? Yes. Yeah. Well, you can see when you come into the site there where you have the red and white barriers. So that's a traffic system. So vehicles are directed to make sure they go in the right way. and when you're down on the ground, you can see it. There's giveaway signs and there's traffic lights to make sure that people only go when they are allowed to go. We've also got these things that go into the back of the hard hats, and that's connected to the trucks. So if somebody comes within 2 meters of one of those big vehicles moving, it buzzes in the cab and it buzzes on their helmet, saying, get out of the way. And then our trucks, our own food waste collection trucks, we've got 360-degree live camera, so we can see outside everything around the truck, and then we have a camera inside looking at the driver, and we have reversing sensors which speaks, saying to the public, stand clear, vehicle reversing. We have if they indicate left, we have a sound which says vehicle turning left, and we have sensors on the back of the truck, so a beeping sound if they're coming closer to something. So yeah, we've got a lot of safety features.
And even things like safety boots and high-vis jackets being worn around the site, just the basics, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hard hat site, so you're not allowed to walk about unless you've got high-vis on or hard hats and steel toe cap boots.
Okay, next question. How many staff are employed by Kenan'S?
We have about 105 now. And so that's just our site in Aberdeen. We have another site which is similar to that one, south of Glasgow, and we've got depots where we keep our trucks. We have Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Manchester, Leeds, Gloucester, Salisbury, Exeter and Guildford, and we're about to open up in Peterborough and Telford, so then we'll be completely UK wide.
That's cool. So does that mean you'll get food waste from everywhere then, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere. So like in Manchester, we collect in Media City, so where all the TV programmes are made. We collect from Balmoral, so we collect from the Queen.
Bet she has for posh food waste. Okay, next question. If a machine overheats, what happens? Does it automatically just cut out and just stop, I guess?
Well, you'd have red warning lights would come on first that would tell you you must stop.
Okay.
So you'd always get a warning light first, yeah.
How much waste is delivered to the site each day, and does the food waste attract rats?
So yes, it does, because any food waste would. But we have a pest control company that lays bait and attends the site weekly to check all the bait. In terms of tonnages, yeah, it fluctuates daily. Our own vehicles will collect about about 50 tonnes a day.
That's a lot. Do you do is it 7 days a week, or do you get more on a Monday because you haven't done it the weekend? Or
you get more on a Monday, and you get quite a lot on a Friday as well, usually. Just now we've amended our collections due to COVID, so in Aberdeen we just do Saturdays, and Glasgow and Edinburgh it's 7 day a week, night and day, so we do night shift as well, but we've not started that back up yet, but it will be soon. We'll be back to that point again.
yeah, I guess as we start opening up and the hospitality gets back into the swing of things again, then I guess you have more stuff coming out again, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you know when you will have to expand your site?
I can't expand it. We're all out of space. We've actually managed to. We had to bund the whole site, and the bund was about 20 meters deep, something, and like that. And so we've managed to kind of get a little bit more space that we're going to create another building.
So presumably, if you wanted to expand, you'd have to buy more land down the road or something like that.
Yeah. And our site south of Glasgow is an 8-acre site, and that's really just for collecting food waste, which we turn into soup. So you call it a soup kitchen, which sounds a bit disgusting, really, because it's food waste. But that goes into a tank, and we make it into liquid food, and then we take that to anaerobic digestion facilities.
Okay, and how long does it take then to convert the food waste into electricity or heat?
I'm not an expert on the AD process, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I'd be lying if I told you.
That's honest. That's okay.
But I can tell you that a ton of food waste in that process is approximately 300 kilowatt hours that it produces of electricity.
Well, that's good then.
I think it will vary, yeah, it'll vary as well for anaerobic digestion because it's about how gaseous the food is that goes into the system, and some will produce more gas than others. Bread and yeast is very good.
It's a dog barking. Okay, how long does it take for the green bags to break down that we put the food waste into?
It takes 6 weeks.
Okay, that's quite a while then. Not as long as, because I saw something online a while ago that said that they'd found plastic packaging somewhere up in the Cairngorms that was from 1992 or something like that.
Yeah, it's not great. The tricky thing is with compostable bags, it's good when they come to our facility and they get dealt with properly and get composted. But because anaerobic digestion is all over the rest of Scotland, there's a couple of in-vessel composting facilities, but it's only good if it goes to the right place. Otherwise, it's pointless going to landfill.
Yeah, I suppose it's the same as everything else, isn't it? Just put it in the right bin.
Yeah.
Keith Hobb would like to know how many times you've had a broken machine.
Oh, I've lost count. Quite
a lot then.
Quite a lot, yeah. Because there's a lot of moving parts. You've got big shredders and things that move, and dealing with big, huge amounts of products. It's just that's the nature of operations. Things go wrong, and you just need to just deal with it.
Yeah. What are the different sorts of jobs that staff do on the site?
So you've got people in the office that are just they'll do the administrator or a weighbridge operator. We have our environmental and compliance officer. So she goes about and she takes the temperature of all of the compost, and it's big thermometers, a metre long, and puts the compost through the Pass 100 process and has to do all the statistics for that. We've got mechanics and loading shovel operators, so they're processing all of the compost. Yeah, and that's all the jobs on the site.
So does the food waste from my house, does it come to your site, or the food waste from, I think it's Lair Hillock that are asking this, does it from the school, does it go to you? Yeah,
everywhere in Aberdeenshire and Aberdeen City and all up Murray and Highland all comes to our site there.
What do you do with the unusable waste? Is that expensive?
We've got a small amount of packaged material, which goes to an energy from waste plant. So it doesn't go to landfill. It still gets used, still gets recycled. And the metal, we recycle that as well. So we put that into separate skips. So there's very little that goes to landfill. It'll just be the odd, strange bit of contamination that we get that we can't quite recycle.
Okay, I'm just checking through my questions to make sure we've answered just about everybody. How many acres is the site? I think you've actually maybe said that before, but I'll ask it again.
That's 11 acres.
11 acres. And how much does each of the loaders cost, and what is your biggest machine?
They're about, I think they're about, I don't buy the machines on site. I know how much the trucks are. The trucks are £120,000 each. The biggest machine's probably a shredder, and I think they're about 200,000. And the depackager is 300,000.
Wow, that's a big outlay just to get the Yeah, it's kind of, that's big numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't get your head around it. I think that's all the questions. I think if anybody else has got any other questions. Oh, here we go. It's another one just popped in the last minute. Do you ever find animals in the waste? And that's from Lumsden.
No, not in the waste. Oh no, we did get a seagull once actually. It's been in a load. And I think we had another bird. I can't remember what it was though, but we had the animal RSPCA had came to pick it up. And no, nothing in the waste though.
Oh, that's good. I'd hate to think something got stuck in there by accident,
Yeah.
or the seagull is probably just chancing his arm trying to find something to eat, to be fair, because they do that.
Yeah.
I think that's a sight of questions. That was really good. Excellent.
Thanks everybody for coming and listening.
Yeah, no, that was really good. That was fascinating. And I'm sure we'll be much more careful now in what we put in our waste bins and our food bins, and make sure that we don't slide anything in that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. That would be really
save you a wee job.